On today's show, three Capitals players whose careers have really shot to the moon this season.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, I want to thank you for making this your first listen of the day. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about 3 Capitals players whose careers have really shot to the moon. We'll talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's having a bounce-back season from, let's say, a rough go of it with the Kings. He's had a really great opportunity to reinvigorate his career and also help contribute in Alex Ovechkin's great chase. I'll talk about that a bit later. We'll talk about Connor McMichael and his substantial growth this season. If you take a look at his goal totals compared to what he has had the last few seasons, right up to the moon. We'll talk about him. But just to get it going here, we'll talk about the man himself, number 43, the future captain of your Washington Capitals, Tom Wilson, as he was named the 3rd star of the week by the NHL. And is it a surprise? No. And if you are an everydayer of the show, and I really hope that you are, one of the things I've talked about is the last handful of games or so, Tom Wilson has really ratcheted up the physical play. It didn't seem so apparent to start the season, but I'm going to go ahead and say the last handful of games or so, we have seen him fully engaged. And what has that meant for the Capitals? Sometimes it has turned the momentum of the games, and it's not just him being the tough guy. He is also a guy that can put up big goals. And it's interesting now that you look at that contract, which seemed a little bit outrageous at the time, seems like a bit of a bargain considering the numbers that he's putting up. So let's talk about that and dive into some exciting news surrounding Tom Wilson, who has been recognized by the NHL for his incredible performance. And as a Capitals fan, we know what he means to this team. And when I say the future captain, I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. I've said it. Alex Ovechkin, the current captain, has said it. But Wilson lit up the score sheet, scoring 3 goals and racking up 7 points during the Capitals' impressive 4-game winning streak. And it's quite exciting how he gets the nods. He gets his flowers as being named the 3rd star of the week. And just an acknowledgement, and it's a good thing for Tom Wilson, as I think oftentimes he doesn't get the credit that he deserves just based on the physical play. And sometimes he ruffles the feathers of other teams, and I hate to say it, sometimes injures some of their players. So it's good that he is established enough that he is getting the credit that he deserves. But let's break down his truly amazing week. Wilson kicked things off with 3 consecutive multi-point games consistently, contributing with 1 goal and 1 assist in each matchup. So in a league of what have you done for me lately, he has done it frequently. And sometimes players will have ebbs and flows. Tom Wilson has been a steady this season, and he was instrumental in the Caps' comeback against the Kraken, picking up an assist in that 4-2 victory on Sunday. And in that same breath is Duhaime. So 2 players that know the importance of physicality, and in Wilson's case, not just physicality, he knows how to chip in offensively as well. But that wasn't all. He secured his 5th career overtime goal in that thrilling 3-2 win over the Rangers, showcasing his clutch performance when it mattered the most. So there are still some people around the league. I hear it from people. I see it in the comments that, Tom Wilson's a goon. He's a 4-letter word, this or that. And there isn't one of the other 31 teams in the league that would not love to have him. If you found out tomorrow that Tom Wilson signed to your favorite team, you would be loving it. And impressive milestones in his, I'm going to say young career, but age is creeping up on him just like the rest of us. 30 years old. I can't believe it. I remember his very first game, and it seems like it's been a bit ago, but not that long ago. Wilson amassed a total of 7 points, 3 goals, and 4 assists over the past week. And, oftentimes, I've talked about him, chipping in physically here, but sometimes he is best served not being physical, as he is a legitimate offensive threat. His stellar play played a crucial role in the Caps maintaining a perfect 4-0-0 record, lifting the team into a tie for first place in the NHL standings along with the Jets. Again, pinch yourself, Capitals fans, and don't tell yourself any lies. When this season started, did you see the Capitals in the position that they're at right now? No way, and it's due in large part with players just like Tom Wilson. Now, impressively, he ranked tied for 4th in the league for total points during this stretch and led in shorthanded points, sharing that honor with other notable players like Alexei Protas and Mika Zibanejad. Now, this past week, Wilson also reached a milestone with his 11th career shorthanded goal, and those are especially sweet, just really sticking it to the other team, surpassing Brooks Laich for 7th most shorthanded goals in Capitals history. Brooks Laich, a good old number 21, in his prime, was one heck of a player, but really turning it up and, just knocking these milestones one after the other. I often talk about what Alex Ovechkin has accomplished. Tom Wilson is turning into a true threat offensively in a lot of different ways. But let's not forget about March 3rd when he achieved his 2nd career Gordie Howe hat trick against Ottawa. What a night. A fight, a goal, an assist, check, check, check. Tom Wilson does it all. And this current season, in general, looking at his current success, Wilson has tallied 52 points, 29 goals, 23 assists in 63 games, hitting a new career high in goals scored. So a lot like the great 8, he is getting better with age. And he's second on the team in scoring, right behind the great 8 with 33. Now, notably, 11 of Wilson's goals have come on the PP, leading the Caps and tying him for 7th in the NHL. Do you hear me, NHL? Tom Wilson is one heck of a player. So put any preconceived notions that you have about him and throw them in the garbage can or recycle bin. It all depends on your perspective. But future prospects for Tom Wilson, as we continue through this season, Wilson is on a pace to hit a remarkable 66 points, surpassing his previous career high of 52 back from the 2021-2022 season. So if you watch the pattern, the growth, it is off the chart for number 43. And here's a fun fact. He leads the Capitals with 186 hits, ranking tied for 15th in the NHL. Physical, offensive, team leader. That is why he will be your next captain. Now, with this season still unfolding, Wilson is just 1 goal away from hitting that 30-goal mark for the first time in his career. Let's take a moment, pull over to the side of the road if you have to, if you want to be safe. Let's hear it for Tom Wilson and what he has put up this season. Nothing short of stellar, and one of the key pieces, one of the guys stirring the drink for the Capitals all season long, and that is why the team is successful. Not Tom Wilson alone, but a team banding together and playing some truly great hockey, some of the best Capitals hockey that I can ever remember. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about another Capitals player whose career has shot to the moon this season. I'm talking about none other than Connor McMichael. I'll discuss next. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Plus, Factory even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day. And isn't that one of the things in life is oftentimes we get busy. I got a wife and kids, or maybe you're a guy or a girl that's constantly on the go. That is why you need to eat Factor, because who wants to eat out all the time? It's expensive and it is horrible for you. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off and use code LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LockedOnNHL50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. So in this next segment, we're talking about another exciting player, a player that I knew ultimately had it in him somewhere. And Connor McMichael is really blowing up and taking it to the next level. If you have followed this show for any period of time, you know a couple summers ago, I said it needed to be the season for Connor McMichael. Well, this season has turned out to be his year. And a lot like the player I'm going to talk about in the last segment, some of the credit, at least in part, goes to Pierre-Luc Dubois, the center of that second line, who Connor McMichael has played a majority of his time with. And I think that, it's his confidence in Connor McMichael, but also being on a line with truly dynamic, great players. Well, that can't hurt either. So let's talk about the latest with Connor McMichael as he achieves his 100th NHL point. My, they grow up so quick, don't they? Today, we're diving into that fantastic topic. He recently recorded his 100th career point with the Caps in an exciting match against the Seattle Kraken. And it's interesting how quickly things have excelled. You take a look at it. The first couple of years, there was questions about sustainability, like he would be really hot and then disappear, kind of like Hendrix Lapierre back then. But he has had sustained success this year. And McMichael reached this milestone by assisting on Marty Fehervary's game-tying goal in the second period and then went to score the game-winning goal himself. Talk about the dynamic, talk about next-level clutch. Now, about the milestone amidst Ovechkin's accomplishments. Oftentimes, I think some of the Capitals players on the current roster live a bit in Ovechkin's shadow. Now, the Capitals as a team are playing very well, but we know the spotlight is shined directly on the Great Eight. McMichael's accomplishments was a big deal. It did get a little overshadowed by Ovechkin hitting that 1,600 career points mark. But all things considered, I'm acknowledging him here right now on the show. Head coach Spencer Carberry made sure to recognize his achievement, though, and that is one of the things that Spencer Carberry is really good at. He has a rapport with the young players. He is the guy that will give tough love if he needs to, but also a support, an attaboy, a pat on the back. That goes a long way. And Carberry noted that McMichael has been playing at a high level. We know that all season, reminiscent of his performance during the earlier in the season that we saw. Now, McMichael's journey in recent improvements. This has been a slow build. This year has been the pinnacle so far, up to date, of his career. He has faced some challenges earlier in the season. We're talking about the Four Nations and what we really wanted to see more from him after that. Spencer Carberry mentioned it as much. But we have seen that, so that is reassuring. Carberry emphasized how vital McMichael's skating speed is, especially when it comes to those one-on-one battles with defenders. And he's the guy. Also came into the league small, kind of like Hendrix Lapierre, bulked up, put the work in the gym, good protein, and that's why he's in a good position physically. Not so easily driven off the puck, and his secret sauce this season is setting up near the net front, looking for deflections, looking for rebounds. Those have been big for him all season. Now, coming out of a strong start to the season where he tallied at 24 points in just 24 games during October, November, he hit with that, inevitable slump December and January with only 14 points, 4 goals, 10 assists over 27 games. But the good news, triumphant, he bounced back in February and March, adding 12 points, 5 goals, 7 assists in his last 13 games. And one of the players that was said to be on the move last summer, can you believe it, that there was talks between the Capitals and the Jets at the time, Rutger McGroarty, they wanted to do a swap. And do you believe that there was actually talk of entertaining it? Why? Because at that point, we had not fully seen Connor McMichael, who he is right now. But right now, he's back to an on point to a point per game pace, which is exciting as a Capitals fan. The game-winning goal against the Kraken, highlight. McMichael scored right in front of the net, an area where he can excel. Like I've talked about, stick to the hits. Don't go into deep cuts, Connor McMichael. Play the hits, and good things will happen. And Carberry highlighted his return to being an effective in-tight goal scorer, and it certainly showed in his recent performance. And you take a look at it, this guy has quite a record in playing hockey, either professionally or in juniors. Along with hitting that 100-point milestone, McMichael has also surpassed 50 points, 23 goals, 27 assists for the first time in a single season since his final year with the OHL's London Knights. So getting back some vintage Connor McMichael vibes, getting in touch with who he was at a younger age. Now, among NHL skaters under 25, he ranks 13th in scoring and 7th in goals. Definitely a player to watch, and I'm happy that he's playing on this team. So the Capitals are going to need Connor McMichael. They're going to need Tom Wilson. They're going to need the entire troop to be playing top-notch as they're heading out west, playing Anaheim and San Jose in this late-night hockey that I'm not too fond of. These games that start at 10 p.m., well, they're tough to watch until the end. But the Capitals, I hope, are able to continue riding this positive wave of momentum. I hope that none of the negativity that we saw during that 3-game losing streak seeps in, because they're sitting in a good position, tied for the best team, the most points in the National Hockey League. A lot to be excited about, Capitals fans, and I think the best is yet to come. So you take a look at the Capitals heading out west. They got some games lined up against some teams, some good, some not so good. Let's hope they can continue to keep building on that momentum. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois and his unique situation, a bounce-back season with the Capitals, and the sweetener apart the whole deal is that he gets to help the Great Eight in his pursuit of Wayne Gretzky. I'll discuss next. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. Now, personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk or on a road trip or need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to snack. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are, well, a classic favorite. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. All right, in this next segment here, we're talking about the man himself, Pierre-Luc Dubois, a guy that was kind of put on the scrap heap by the Kings. No love for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Even though he has the pedigree, he's got the history with stops playing with the Jets, also playing in Columbus with the Blue Jackets, and had just a bit of a blip on the radar out with the Kings, and people were ready to feed him to the Wolves. And what did Brian McClellan see? He was able to see the unseen, which is a truly great player that was playing on the wrong team. He was a round peg in a square hole in a round peg. You know what I'm talking about, that it was a mismatch playing in the City of Angels. He comes out to the East Coast, and things are, well, gravy for Mr. Dubois. And he's in a unique position, as I think he was looking to reestablish his good name in the National Hockey League. And also a unique opportunity as he is playing with who will one day, real soon here, be the greatest goal scorer of all time. So let's do that. Let's dive into this next topic about Pierre-Luc Dubois being in a unique situation. And also, you know, take a look at it, this team competing for a Stanley Cup. You know, you take a look at it, what Pierre-Luc Dubois is able to do on this team. And, you know, the great players that he's played with and how he's helped elevate their game, it is quite something. Now, the Capitals making it to a Stanley Cup, and the Capitals and Alex Ovechkin, more specifically, chasing down Wayne Gretzky. An ambitious goal is capturing the attention of the entire NHL. At the heart of it all is none other than Alex Ovechkin. He's making a remarkable stride toward becoming the league's all-time leading goal scorer, and now he's just a handful of goals away from surpassing Gretzky's legendary record. Now, that is a thrilling time, and it is a thrilling time to be a Capitals fan, that is for sure. And the whole team is rallying around him, hoping that he can get it done sooner than later. You take a look at that empty netter that he scored in the last game, that backhanded, skilled empty netter. If you can believe there's such a thing, there is such a thing. Tom Wilson would not be denied. He made sure and fed the puck to the grade 8. So that's what it's all about, helping Alex Ovechkin and Pierre-Luc Dubois finding what makes him truly great. Now, on the ice, Dubois has been a key player this season, racking up 16 goals and 38 assists for a total of 54 points in 64 games. Quite a bounce back. You know, you take a look at it, with 18 games left in the regular season, he's on track to surpass his previous career best, underline that, of 63 points, and has a real shot at hitting the 70-point mark if he keeps this scoring streak alive. Now, what's behind Dubois' impressive performance? He credits his work ethic and strong support from his teammates. Another guy that eats a steady diet of humble pie. It's a good thing, because humble pie is low in calories. Known for his aggressive style and a big guy, you take a look at, he is the size of a football player. Doesn't always translate onto television, but it's true. He's constantly driving to the net, taking shots, and positioning himself effectively in front of the goal. The secret sauce. You know, you take a look at Protas, Wilson, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Get those guys in front of the net, screen the netminder, have him up there for a deflection or a rebound. It's going to be really difficult to move him. Defensively, he's a relentless forechecker who isn't afraid of getting physical. We saw that, pushing the guy into the bench. He's a guy that you really won't want to mess with, I think. Now, he has immense respect for his teammates, citing veterans like Ovi, Backstrom, and Wilson and Dowd as key figures in his development. Those are quite the players to look up to. Now, Dubois said, quote, in an article in RG, "I knew there was a lot of talent in the dressing room. It's hard work, and it's exactly what I thought this organization and this team would be like," unquote. And again, I couldn't be happier that he has found a good home with the Capitals. And, you know, at the time, signed that big contract with the Kings, 8 years, came to the Capitals, 7 years left, less than 7 years since it's toward the end of the season. As it is right now, a master class by former GM Brian McClellan. And what it's been for him this season is a revitalization. You know, you take a look at it after a tough season with the Kings, Dubois is revitalizing his career, and it's clear he embraces the Capitals and what they've been able to accomplish. And in return, great things have happened for Mr. Dubois and the team. So that's what we're talking about. A unique position for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Sometimes these players that struggle in certain locations, they find a new home and they just really take off. They take off to the moon, like I said to start off this show. So in this episode, I talked about Wilson, McMichael, and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Sometimes it's just finding the right home. And the good thing for me as a Capitals fan is I know he has found the right home with the Capitals. Capitals fans, we should feel pumped about where this team is at right now, heading out west on a road trip here, riding high tied for the best team in the entire National Hockey League. That is something that I can't get over. That was kind of like a fever dream to start the season, that maybe the Capitals might be able to get into a wild card spot, far exceeding all of our expectations, due in large part to the three players I talked about in today's episode. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. When you're done here, head on over to Locked On NHL, where they have you covered NHL-wide, 5 days a week, available wherever you find your podcasts and on YouTube. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.